Hello there fellow gateballers and welcome back to another very important video in relation to referee positioning. Before we start today, as always, we'd like to thank Gateball Australia for being a proud sponsor of the channel, as well as the World Gateball Union for use of their publications, figures, tables and so on and so forth. Today's episode is really important. It's something that I believe we struggle with a little bit in Australia, and referee positioning, if you don't know what it is where yourself as the chief referee or assistant referee and your partnering assistant referee or chief referee are standing during the various stroking motions of the game. So we're just going to, without further ado, move on. So the first one we're going to look at is the basic interactions, and this is the beginning of the article in the referee's guide in the back of the rulebook. So the basic interactions between the chief referee and assistant referee. So we can see number one there, the position of the chief referee and assistant referee when making decisions. The referee, whose main role it is to decide on a stroker's play, is referred to as referee A. Referee A stands in front of the stroker. The decision is made with the referee positioned at a sufficient distance from the stroker so the stroker does not feel hemmed in. That's really important. We don't want to be standing too close to the stroker so that they feel boxed in, is another word that's commonly used. Now there's no distance recommended here, but various Japanese video guides recommend 2 meters minimum from the stroker. The referee, whose main role it is to decide on the movement of the ball, is referred to as referee B. So now we're just going to stop there and describe what the difference is between referee of the stroker's play and the movement of the ball. So we can see here, referee A is adjudicating and deciding on the stroke of the stroker. So he's seeing whether the stroker is committing a stroking foul or a foul play in any way, shape or form. Likewise, referee B over here is approximately where the intended path of the ball is going to travel, and they're adjudicating on the movement of the ball. And that means that in this case, referee B would be announcing a touch should it occur in this area. Had this ball gone and had this ball entered the outer field, they would also be responsible in some cases for calling the ball as an out ball if a linesman is not available. Now, it's also important to note that referee A and B do not necessarily mean that referee A indicates a chief referee and referee B indicates an assistant referee. In many cases, these roles are reversible, and you'll see that in some future slides. You need to remember that referee A just means any of the 2 referees that is adjudicating on the stroke, and referee B means any of the 2 referees, assistant or chief that is, who is refereeing on the movement of the ball. Referee B stands in the direction of the stroker, the direction that the stroker is stroking, as we discussed. The direction is made from a position that will not affect play by the stroker, so you can leave quite a bit of distance here. It's not as imperative as the 2 meter minimum from the stroker as referee A is doing here. Making decisions and announcements on the stroker's play. So this is what referee A is doing. Referee A makes decisions and announces on the stroker's play. Depending on the circumstances, referee B can make decisions and announcements on the stroker's play. So it's whichever person in this case is closer to the offence, which will most likely be making the call. This one down here is probably a little bit rarer, especially in relation to stroking fouls. Often it's referee A in this case who will be calling those, but there are situations in which referee B could do that. Moving on, we can see here, figure 11, referee B making a decision and announcement example. So from above, from the question above that we had. So we can see here that ball 2 has made gate 1. So this is referee A, forget the number 1 there. So referee A can see, is adjudicating on the stroke, or the stroke by ball 2. And we can see that referee B here is standing somewhere near gate 2 because ball 2 is clearly making a play towards gate 2. So in this situation, it would be appropriate that referee B make a decision on whether the ball has passed over the gate line. So in this situation, referee A is observing the stroke, and referee B is adjudicating the movement of the ball. So referee B can see that the movement of the ball has travelled clearly over the gate line. The moment that referee B sees ball 2 go over the gate line, they immediately call 2番第2ゲート通過 to indicate that ball 2 has gone through gate 2. Radio. Number 4, exchange of roles between referee A and referee B. This is where things start to go wrong, in my opinion, many times when we see refereeing done throughout Australia. You need to understand as a referee that the roles between the referees change very fluidly. And I would highly recommend that when you do refereeing tournaments that you have a partner who you are constantly refereeing with, so you can understand the flow of the game. The chief referee is always assisting the assistant referee is always assisting the chief referee in finding where the next player is. After all, it is the assistant referee's responsibility to indicate to the chief referee where the next ball in the playing order is, so that they don't have to run around and look for it and waste time. So the chief referee and the assistant referee can, depending on their circumstances surrounding the stroker's play, exchange their roles. So in figure 11, when referee B decides and announces on a successful pass through a gate, referee B can take on referee's A role and make decisions on continuous play. So if we look at figure 11 here, we can see that this is the movement of referee A during their decision making. So referee A's movement during decision making and referee B's movement during decision making. So we can see now that referee B has ended here, or ended up in the outer field after adjudicating the ball 2 has gone through gate 2. So if we go down to figure 12 here, it explains how, after the continuous play has been granted to ball 2 by passing through the second gate, referee B moves from the outer field to the inner field, and we can see B2 becomes A, because now the referee B in the previous example is now the closest referee to adjudicate on the stroking of ball 2. And we can see that because referee A in the past example is the closest to the next positioning of ball 2, so ball 2 is playing towards gate 3 in this situation, referee A moves and becomes referee B. So we can see a very simple and straightforward exchange of roles depending on who is closer to the stroker and the intended path of stroking or sparking. Incredibly important to know this one. This is where most problems arise in refereeing positioning. Rightio, interactions between the chief referee and the assistant referee in relation to stroking notifications. This one's a little bit of a deviation, but as I was saying a little bit earlier, there are certain things that must be communicated by the chief referee to the assistant referee and vice versa. So the first one is mutual confirmation of the next player. So it's the assistant referee's responsibility to mutually confirm the position of the next stroker's ball. That's so the chief referee doesn't have to keep looking around for it and becoming like a chicken with its head cut off, running around the court looking for the next player. Basically, the position of the next stroker's ball is confirmed by the assistant referee and conveyed to the chief referee. Exactly what I just said there. The position of the ball, but not the number of the next player, is conveyed. So that's really important. So just where the ball is on the court. That's all you need to know. Number 2, timing of the call to stroke. Once a stroker's turn ends, the chief referee calls the next stroker to stroke. Very straightforward. The stroker's turn ends when the following takes place. Now these ones are important. After stroking, the stroker does not gain the right for a continuous play or spark, and all the balls on the inner field that have made a valid move stop moving. That includes when the balls need to have been hit out, so a ball becomes an out ball by entering the outer field and needs to be replaced by a referee. That includes that time before the next number can be called. When a play results in a foul is the other situation. So the minute a foul occurs and the balls have been replaced, then the chief referee may call the next stroker in the turn order. Number 2. Even before a ball on the inner field is still moving, even if a ball in the inner field is still moving, if the chief referee decides that the situation remains unchanged, he or she can call the next player to stroke. This one's not really observed in Australia, in my opinion, but you can clearly see it observed on TV in Japan and in China. If the ball is just creeping and a ball is in the middle of the court or somewhere where it's clearly not going to have any impact on the game, and I mean, the referee needs to be 100% certain that it will not have material effect on the game, the chief referee may call the next player to stroke. So the ball can still slightly be moving, 2 or 3 rolls extra, as long as the chief referee believes that there will be no material change or the situation remains unchanged within the game. Number 2, a call to stroke made when the chief referee is near the ball of the next stroker. The chief referee takes the shortest route to arrive at a position that will enable him or her to decide on the play of the next stroker, calls on that player to stroke, and becomes referee A. That's what happens when the chief referee is closest to the next stroker. The assistant referee takes the shortest route to arrive at a position that will enable him or her to decide on the movement of the ball and becomes referee B. So that's how the normal situation would unfold. Referee A is the chief referee because the chief referee assumes the positioning of referee A if they are the closest to the stroker. And the assistant referee, assumes the position of referee B if they are closest to the intended path of play. Right, on this figure up here. After player number 1 has had his or her turn, the chief referee decides on the right timing to call on player number 2 to stroke and becomes referee A. The assistant referee becomes referee B. Right, this is the first of one of the few little complicated diagrams that for some reason seem to exist abundantly in Gateball. But anyway, so we can see that number 1 was playing initially, and number 1 played towards the second line. So we can see that ball number 1 was here, and it is moving towards the second line. We can then move to see that the chief referee, so chief referee was standing here initially, chief referee was standing here, and they were adjudicating on the movement of ball 1, not on the movement, on the stroking of ball 1. So the chief referee is adjudicating on the stroking of ball 1. Ball 1 was stroked towards the middle of the second line, somewhere near gate 2, and we can see that the assistant referee is also over here, adjudicating on the movement of that ball, and possibly in this situation calling the ball safe because it's very close to the inner field line. So in this situation, the chief referee was referee A and the assistant referee was referee B, but they're not labelled here because it's showing the movement on the next play. So this is a situation, as an example from the section above, about when the chief referee is closest to the next ball to play. So after ball 1 has played and finished, and ball 2 is called, the chief referee is clearly the closest to the next ball in the playing order, which is ball 2, as the assistant referee is all the way over here. So the chief referee takes the shortest path. You might ask why it goes this way. Well, it's probably that the player is still standing in that general area, the player of ball 1. So they're just moving along. So the chief referee takes the shortest path to ball 2, and they assume the position of referee A. So the chief referee of the last stroke goes down and assumes the positioning of referee A to adjudicate on the stroking of ball 2. Likewise, the assistant referee takes the shortest path to go towards the intended area of play. So we can see ball 2, by the positioning of the player, is aiming towards ball 4. So referee B, who is the assistant referee from the last stroke, will be adjudicating on the movement of it. And should it touch ball 4 in this situation, because 2 is an out ball, they will call hansoku, as it is a foul, because they are an out ball. Number 3, a call to stroke made when the assistant referee is near the ball belonging to the next stroker. So this is the reverse of what we've just discussed. The chief referee decides on the right timing for the assistant referee to take the shortest route to arrive at a position to decide on a play by the next stroker and makes a call to stroke. He or she takes the shortest route to arrive at a position that will enable him or herself to decide on the movement of the ball and becomes referee B. And the assistant referee takes the shortest route to arrive to arrive at a position to decide on the play of the next stroker and becomes referee A. So this is the opposite. This is where the assistant referee becomes referee A and the chief referee becomes referee B. And we can see an example of that just here. And we can see that after number 1's turn ends, the chief referee decides on the timing and calls player number 2 to stroke and becomes referee B. The assistant referee becomes referee A. So we can see that the chief referee in this situation is adjudicating on the stroking of ball 1 towards gate 3. And we can see that the assistant referee is adjudicating on the movement of the ball of ball 1 stroked towards gate 3. So in this situation, the chief referee is referee A and the assistant referee is referee B. We can see that ball number 2 is in the start area. Well, not in the start area, but is about to perform start stroking. So, when ball number 2 is to be called by the referee, by the chief referee realizes that the assistant referee is clearly closer to the start area than the chief referee is. So, the chief referee will allow enough time for the assistant referee to be able to run over to the start area and stand in this area just here, just this section here, just beyond the outer field. And the chief referee, after calling ball number 2, will dash across to get to an area where they can assume the position of referee B. So the assistant referee will move to this area here, and they will become referee A, adjudicating on the start stroking. And the chief referee will move into this position here, and they will assume the position of referee B. This is a situation in which the assistant referee becomes referee A, and the chief referee becomes referee B. It's important to note in this that these roles are interchangeable, and that's what I'm trying to get at with this presentation. It's that the chief referee doesn't necessarily have to be the person who is adjudicating the stroking of the player every single time. They can change, and this is a prime example of how that would happen. Rightio, number 3, deciding on and announcing a successful pass through the first gate. At the same time as making a decision on the validity of a stroke, referee A proceeds in the direction of the ball. So we can see that so referee A is here. Now this could be the chief referee, could be the assistant referee, we don't know. We can see that ball 1 is performing the start stroking. So, the moment that referee A in the situation is satisfied that the ball has been placed correctly with the hand and not with the foot or the stick, and that it is placed with at least some portion of it in the outer field and within the start area, the moment the stroke is made, referee A can begin to move in a linear motion through the outer field towards the line that the ball is traveling, and we can see referee B here adjudicating on the movement. As soon as it is confirmed that the start stroking has resulted in the ball completely passing over the gate line of the first gate in a single stroke, referee calls out that the pass through the gate was successful. Depending on the situation, referee may make the call. Right, so that's the interchangeability we were talking about. So in this situation, ball 1 was called to play. Ichiban would say the chief referee to indicate ball 1. The referee would then clearly see that the ball is placed, as we can see here, legally within the start area. The player of ball 1 strokes his ball in one stroke, clearly through gate 1. The chief referee in this situation, because they are the closest to this area, we can see that the chief referee in this situation has moved to the position of A2, would call Ichiban Daiichi Geto Tsuka to indicate that ball 1 has passed successfully through gate 1. And we can see referee B here adjudicating on the positioning of ball 1 after it has stopped moving. If referee B determines that the ball will stop in the outer field, he should already be positioned in the outer field. This one's incredibly important to understand that referees move whilst they are making their calls. Well, not physically while they're making the call, because they have to assume the initial position and then the call position or the gesture position. But after they've made it and before they've made it, they're often jogging to the next area. You're always moving towards the next area you're intending to referee. and that ensures the flow of the game is consistent, that the players are happy, and that the game moves at a reasonable pace so that you can call the numbers as quickly as possible. Right, so we can see that ball 2 here has been called to stroke, and we can see that referee A here, as in the previous example, is adjudicating on the movement of the ball through the gate. So referee A1 is satisfied in the placement of the ball and the stroking of the ball. They move to this position before making the call on the ball through the gate. They would call 2番第1ゲート通過 to indicate ball 2 through gate 1. And we can see that they're moving this time. And then we can realize, that referee B in this situation is realizing that this stroke is incredibly hard and has a high risk of exiting the court. So whilst the ball is in motion going through here, and they can see that it's quite quick, the referee B quickly moves to the outer field where they believe that the ball will go out. And should the ball go out, and they are the closest to that ball, they will call 2番アウトボール, or ball 2 out ball. In this situation, the ball is safe. So, do we remember the call for a ball that's safe? Well, there's no call whatsoever. They will use their hand to indicate with a sweeping motion with a flat palm, with the flat hand, with the back of the hand facing outwards in a sweeping motion across the line to indicate that the ball is safe. But we can see that there is a movement of referee B in this situation towards that area. Rightio, the interaction between the chief referee and assistant referee in relation to continuous stroke or sparking. A pass through the gate. Referee A must quickly make a decision and an announcement regarding a ball that passes through the second gate or third gate. Depending on the situation, referee B may make the announcement. So the announcements may be interchanged depending on who's the closest. After referee B decides on and announces a successful pass through the gate of a sparked other ball, referee A decides whether the stroker, player number 1, has the right to continue a stroke following the spark. So, in this situation, referee A is adjudicating on the sparking of ball 3 by ball 1, and referee B is adjudicating on the movement of ball 3 as a result of the spark. Ball 3 in this situation is sparked through gate 2. So, it's referee B's responsibility to make the decision as to the movement of the ball. So we can see that ball 3 clearly passes over the gate line. Referee B would stop and would assume the initial position before calling 3番第2ゲート通過 to indicate that ball 3 has passed through gate 2. And ball A's responsibility is to judge whether the spark was legal. Had the spark been illegal, there would have been a variety of different things that would have happened there in relation to balls becoming out balls and so on and so forth. And also whether the stroker will have the right to a continuous stroke following the spark. So that's what referee is deciding there. Moving along, a little bit of a more complicated diagram, and it describes what happens when referee B makes a decision on and announces a successful touch. So we can see that referee A and referee B switch roles. Referee A makes a decision on the movement of the ball. Referee B makes a decision on the stroker's play. So we can see that in this situation, ball 1 is playing first. We can see that referee A is in a position observing the play of ball 1 towards ball 2. And we can see referee B's position here. So the only two things we're looking at here are referee A here and referee B here, and the playing or the stroking of ball 1 towards ball 2. Now, ball 1 plays towards ball 2. Referee B is standing in the outer field. Ball 1 touches ball 2. It is referee B's responsibility to call the touch, as they are the closest referee to the movement of the ball and to the touch. So they would call 2番に touch to indicate that ball 2 has been touched. And we can see that ball 2 moves to this position and that ball 1 has traveled along this path and moved to this position. From this area, the referees change. Referee B, because they are the closest to the touch, will now move and assume the role of referee A. We can see that referee B moves along this path, and this is where the spark is being conducted after the touch. And we can see that referee B has changed into referee A. We can see that the players lining up ball 2 to be sparked into the outer field over here because of the positioning of the balls. So referee A will take the shortest path and assume the position of referee B. So this is an example of a touch being occurred, or any action for that matter, a touch or a spark, touch or a gate, sorry, and the role of referee B in the case of calling the relevant touch or gate, and assuming the role of referee A right after. So that's that situation there. Well, that's the end of our presentation for today. That's a really basic example of referee positioning. Now, that one describes what happens whilst the balls are moving throughout the game, and the positions that the referees have to assume in relation to that. The positions that the referee should stand in starting strokes and other sections will be discussed in a later video, and I'll provide some other resources for that, because that's also incredibly important. This is probably the harder of the two referee positioning videos to understand, and where I believe that the most problems will most likely exist during a game. The takeaway message for today is to ensure that you practice refereeing with a partner, and you need to understand that refereeing is an active part of the game. Jogging in some cases, moving incredibly swiftly or as fast as you possibly can are key elements of good refereeing. And the positioning of yourself in order to make the best call possible will ensure validity of your ability to referee to the players. You want to make sure that the game is enjoyed by the players, and you as the referee are the person who decides most of what goes on during the game, as gateball is such a heavily refereed sport. So it's just important to remember all of those things. Practice your refereeing. If you have any questions at all, you can contact me. You can write a comment down below as well, should you want to. And I hope to see you refereeing on a gateball court sometime soon. Bye-bye.